It's race day. Welcome, race fans, to a showcase of driving perfection. My name's Webbo, and let's get down trackside. Hold on tight, we're gonna go for it. Boom, that's how it's done. Whoa, easy. Surely not all the way around the outside. Oh yeah, we're cooking now. Shake and bake, baby. Shake and bake. This is a roller coaster of emotions. The drivers are pushing their machines to the limit and beyond. Woo, it doesn't get any better than that. We wait for the lights, the revs build, and so does the excitement. And it's drop the clutch and go, go, go! Okay, driver, it's hammer time. This driver is an artist, and the racetrack is their canvas. Did you see that? Did you see that? Wow! Let's watch it again. Ooh, hopefully they'll get away with that one. What a great start, and it looks like we can build on this now and really make a good race of it. There's the fastest lap, folks. No mercy on the menu today. Yeah, sideways is rarely ever faster, but you do get style points. And we roll the safety car dice. Leave them alone. They know what they're doing. Oh no, someone's gone bowling into turn one. What a shocker. Moving left, jinking right, keep them guessing. Lawn mowing as a side gig. And we go down the inside, Danny Rick style. We're on the edge of our seats here, folks. The racers are pushing their limits, risking it all for that coveted first place position and the all-important win. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The two cars ahead are fighting with each other. It's slowing them down. And through we go! That driver is a complete and total. A word has not been invented to describe how complete and total they are. But they are one, and a complete and total one at that. And it all comes down to this, the final lap. If you smell what this driver is cooking. This seems like as good a time as any to ask if you've subscribed yet. There's your Grand Slam, pole, fastest lap, and the win!
Welcome race fans to a new adventure here on the channel and for Deviant Racing. My name is Webbo, here to join you today for the brand new ACC Assetto Corsa Competizione League here at Deviant Racing League. They're just finishing up the last couple of seconds here of practice. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time with us, do say hello. Do tell me who you're here to support, and I will do my level best to make you part of today's broadcast, as well as the drivers as well. Well, that was free practice done and dusted, and we are getting ready then for the start of qualifying for our fantastic drivers. This is the hard stuff. We usually go racing on GT7, and it's difficult, but this game, this sim, it's not a game. This sim platform is for the guys who really enjoy suffering. We have incredibly draconian penalties for the drivers to avoid contact at all costs, and hopefully we will then see some very high quality racing as a result. I really look forward to seeing this. This is my first time commentating over this particular sim platform as well through the PlayStation. So I am having to use a controller. My keyboard apparently won't be recognized by ACC, so that's the first of our little bits of business to get out of the way. Practice just ticking by as Chaotica here on track is going to put in the final times. A little bit of a mention here. This is multi-class racing. We have GT3s and GT4s. The GT4s, the GT4 cars are denoted by their race number with the small yellow stripe and blue triangle in the lower right. Those are the GT4 cars, and the GT3s are the ones without that little corner chamfered off. Hello to Pat Finn, who joins us in the live chat and gets things kicked off for us. It is a beautiful day for racing, of course. We're at the Hungaroring. I haven't even said yet where we are. We're in the paddock of the Hungary, the site of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And let's get trackside and find out who our drivers are and what they're up to. Camzilla is the first driver on track, and you won't miss this car on track at all, will you? This is the BMW GT3, and let's get inside the car, shall we? And see what this feels like from Cam's point of view. Obviously, that mirror taking up quite a large proportion of what we can see. We can look back at the driver and have a look at the whites of his eyes in certain light conditions, and then let's sit on the dashboard and experience this Hungaroring circuit. We're just going through the turn 5 at the top of the hill before heading back downhill again through the piff-paff chicane of turn 6 and 7. It's a much slower experience than you may be used to if you're used to watching this on Grand Prix. This is turn 9 and 10, the fast and flowing S section of the racetrack. Usually the car's understeering through here. Let's see how the BMW handles this one with Camzilla at the wheel. Just taking a nice apex there before a little short straight here down to the big stop of turn 12, all the way down into first gear, maximizing the run on the outside of the corner before getting fully over to the right hand side for the first of two back-to-back 180-degree open hairpins. That was turn 13, the penultimate corner, pit lane entry on your right with the dash line, and then the all-important final corner of the lap, turn number 14, before heading down to the longest straight we have here at the Hungaroring, which isn't particularly long at all. Good. Welcome to the stream, Alexandra, and of course a big shout out to Gus, son of Larry, and congratulations, Gus, for I believe a strong football result today. So congratulations to you and your team. But powering out of turn 1 we go, and looking for the entry into turn 2, which is slightly blind, the apex of turn 2. You often see drivers running side by side through here, following an overtake attempt through the previous turn number 1. That was number 3. It's fairly straightforward, but then turn number 4 is really difficult. Point up towards the sky, pick a braking point and a turning point, and just trust that the apex is where you last left it before we have then completed full circle. We're now at the midpoint of the circuit, and as I say, at the top of the hill. Greetings everybody on the channel. I see lots of people watching, and I'm very pleased to see that, but I want to see lots of people in the live chat, please, and let me know who has the most support here today. Is it going to be Larry, or will it be Mr. Fish, who has brought in several people. Maybe there's some other spectators that that may be joining for a particular driver, unless you are just a Deviant Racing diehard and you're here to see what this ACC business is all about. Camzilla then will be the first driver to set a fast lap. We're back into that penultimate corner of the racetrack once again. Just being patient with the throttle here. Little maneuver movement there from the windscreen wiper, singular, with the central bar down the windscreen as well. Windshield, I should say, for my American friends. And powering out of the corner we go. And that first lap then was a 1 minute 47.362 for Camzilla. This is Priest racing out of Jamaica, I'm told. Most of my race information today has come from Lowry, so I don't know how large a handful of salt you need to take with what I say. He tells me I should trust him implicitly with his ACC information. We could do with a bit more of a turnout from the fans in the grandstands, but thankfully I know there's plenty of you here to watch with us. That last lap for Priest in the GT3 category, 149.557. That may well have been an outlap, however. So let's just have a look at Priest's car, racing in the Jamaica colours as well. You'll recognise obviously from the flag and the movie Cool Runnings. Priest is looking fast already in that black, yellow and green colour scheme. On track also we have Leaderboy, I think is what I should be reading this name as. Leaderboy here, number 78 in the purple entry Fanatec sponsored GT3 car. This looks like an Audi to me. I'm squinting to try and get a good impression, but I'm pretty sure it is indeed the 4 rings on the nose. This is the Audi GT3 car. It's got 78 written on his gamer tag. Perhaps he's got 26 written on the side of the car. So maybe something to sort out there. Qualifying is 5 minutes down, 9.5 to go as Leaderboy gets out onto the grass on the exit, understeering out there on the approach into turn 5, and unfortunately for him that is a problem. Bouncing back in towards the pit lane we go. We got Jim Arnott here on track as well. He's racing in the McLaren. I was imagining he would be in the Porsches, but no, the McLaren is his choice today. He took a wide entry in the GT4 car here to try and open the door potentially for Camzilla to launch one down the inside. Camzilla waiting patiently to avoid that those contact penalties. That's the last thing that we want. I believe we have a yellow flag on track, but I think the drivers are free to continue pushing. This is Jim Arnott then in the maroony purpley with black accents McLaren, and currently in 14th position overall. We've got Nat here, Nat A, and a new driver to me, another McLaren driver, but this time the GT3 category. You see the extra dive planes, the extra aerodynamic tweaks here on the car number 189. Back to the pits though for him. Let's have a look at Larry then. Larry, who is responsible for bringing me in today, and obviously brings with him Gus and Alexandra as well in the audience. A matte black red accent, very deviant on brand Porsche here, possibly even Team Redline branded Porsche. Need a few more sponsors perhaps on the car though for Larry, so if you're feeling generous you can get your sticker on the car for Larry and make sure that he is supported well enough to go racing, as he's racing of course in the GT3 car number 77. I don't know why there is a different number after the gamer tag names on the screen. I'm leaving the gamer tag names on because that's generally what we do here in Deviant. But we can try it without a little bit later perhaps, as he goes into that final corner, and he's looking then for a decent lap here. Comes out of the final corner, goes across the line at 147.0, goes into 4th place in class, 4th overall of course as a GT3 driver, but 4th place for the start of this final 7 minutes of qualifying. We have Bonget then on track in well, I'm not quite sure how to describe the main colour of this car. Obviously, we've got yellow and red there, but I will go with gold. I will be generous and say gold and steer away from my initial instinct, which was to suggest he was in the puke-coloured car. So I will not do that. The gold, red and yellow of Bongit, P3 in class. 3 of the 9 GT3 drivers. We don't have an even split here. We have 6 GT4 drivers, 9 GT3s. And this is then Bongit then having a look then at his next flying lap. We can have a look from the chase cam here, far and near. And then we've got that fantastic internal shot then of what the drivers are looking at, and we can get a little idea here that Bongit is using the racing line, the forbidden racing line, as far as I'm concerned as a purist, especially racing lines that change to tell you when to brake and accelerate. Bongit, I'm disappointed. Maybe all the drivers are. Let's have a look. Well, maybe this is fine because all the drivers are doing the same. This is Viciously Vic. He's racing in the number 6 and is currently fastest overall, just clearing room on the racetrack here for everybody as we get a nice close-up of just the dashboard, no hands going on there, and we've got a Race Logic timer on screen as well for him. So Viciously Vic in the Ferrari, in the Tricolore colour scheme of the Ferrari, and just warming the car up here and getting ready for his next flying lap. He's managed to post a 1:45.715 and is the leader of the overall standings with qualifying just 5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. So let's join Viciously Vic on board and go full immersion with him and see exactly Vic winning round 1 of the season, which was not televised. We weren't able to get a camera crew out for that one. I think we may have had some problems with visas and logistics for the broadcast crew, but we're here in Hungary. Into turn 2 we go, and everything happening that little bit slower than you might be used to in Formula 1 as we go through turn 3. Need to carry as much momentum as possible because that builds all the way up the hill here, and then down into 3rd gear, hanging on for dear life on the exit of turn 4 before then hoping to get a very late apex. We're out on the marbles though. Big snap of corrective steering going through there. I don't think this lap is going to be competing with his previous one. I don't have tyre information unfortunately for the drivers, but Viciously Vic off circuit now, and I think that lap is absolutely dead and buried at this stage. Let's have a look then at Chaotica. We haven't hung out with Chaotica yet. 3 minutes 43 remaining on the clock as he is currently running in 12th overall, 4th of the 6 GT4 runners. I will do my best to make sure that everybody gets their moment in the Hungarian sunshine today, and they're fantastic broadcast, and we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the race. Pike Fitness join to say good luck, gentlemen. We've got our scouts looking for talent today. Pike Fitness, one of the GT World Challenge team owners, and great to have you guys tuning in. Hope you're a fan of the liveries that the drivers race in the other series, and I hope to see you also, Pike Fitness, on a broadcast on a Sunday for the GT World Challenge as well, the GTD and the GTD Pros. This is Chaotica running then in that P12. Let's have a look at some drivers going a little bit quicker, shall we? These are the order of the cars on circuit at the moment. Not see them then in the light green Aston Martin, the low deep growl of the V12 inside the Aston Martin GT4. It might actually be a V10. I might be being generous here to Aston Martin in the GT4s. We've got Edward Ned Lowe here. Should we call him Ned? I think we could call him Ned. Is running in that P2, and it might be good to get on board with Ned here and see how this one goes. P2 of the 6 in class, and is he able to challenge perhaps the leader of that current run in GT4s? Maybe yellow flags in qualifying, may just be the colour scheme at the top centre of the screen. Running down into turn 4 now. You can see just how much slower and harder to handle these GT4 cars are than the GT3s. Really need to be super patient with the throttle and release of the pedal at all times. So we are just powering through at the moment. Still second in class here for Ned. Get an update on his time through the second sector, but that's wide. Hopefully the ACC won't penalise him there from race control. And looked like he was off throttle for a decent portion of that run. Down we go. Should have had an update on the time there. I'm looking all over the screen and I can't see an update on the time, but we'll hang with him for the time being, and then we'll try and find somebody competing in the GT3 category. Into turn 13 we go. Lots and lots of time off throttle, lots of very gentle throttle application for Ned, and then looking for that really late apex pickup, just a touch there. Double yellow on the category there from race control. That is slow and be prepared to stop for that particular flag. Looks like no change to the conditions then for him. We'll try and find you. There's a P3 running Chaotica at the moment. So let's try and get you a decent run here. This is Viciously Vic, and he is still P1 in qualifying with just a few seconds left to go. Joining him on board in the Ferrari. Fantastic echoey harmonics of the Ferrari. I hope that's coming through the stream just a-okay for you. The real variance of that of those times. A 1:45.7 is the best lap of anybody on board this car in particular. We've got double rear view mirrors happening on screen at the moment. A centrally mounted one just over the right knuckles, and then of course in the traditional position top of screen where you would expect to see that rear view mirror in a conventional road car. Very wide then on the exit of the final corner, and he doesn't go any quicker this time. 1:45.7 is the fastest time. Is that Jim? Was that Jim trying? Let's see, where are we? I'm trying to track who's who and where's where on the order. This is not Siam, as he is running in the GT4s. Not Siam running P14 of 15 overall. This is the Aston Martin on board. Slightly nicer finish inside. Bit of nice little exhaust overrun sound effect there as well coming through. Terrific stuff from him. And then powering out of that final corner. Is this good enough to lift him? Siam first in class with a 1:56.020. Siam P1 for the GT4 division. Checker flags are picking up here. Let's see if we've got any drivers just finishing laps. This is a pit stop for Leader Boy. Yeah, doing my best. This is Nat then. Nat or Nate. I think Nat coming through. The final car to cross the line. He goes second, but it's nearly 0.6 of a second away. It is Viciously Vic on top with a 1:45.7. It's Nat nearly 0.6 of a second away in the McLaren. P3 goes the way of Bongit in the Porsche. A triplicate of Porsches from third through fifth. Very close between those ones, Bongit, Mr. Fish and Larry. Then is Camzilla in the BMW. Timid Umbrian, or T-Deeds as I know him, in P7 with Priest in P8. That takes care of the GT3s. The GT4 leader is not Siam, starting P9 overall. 10 seconds off the pace, of course, thanks to the lower category machinery. Leader Boy in 10th, Ned in 11th, Chaotica 12th, Backmarker Racing in 13th. We'll perhaps just call him Backmarker. And then Jim in 14th, and I'm spectating. So there are only 14 drivers here in the. I think, do I need to go back to garage? I don't want to do the wrong thing. I'm hoping. I think I need to go back to garage. I'm waiting for the race to start. Oh dear. Drive. Still in qualifying. Okay. I'm just nervous that we missed the start of the race for obvious reasons. It's the last thing that anybody wants to see. Let's try and navigate then, as all the drivers are waiting in the pit lane under parc fermé conditions. Looks like car number 44 is currently on track. That's Mr. Fish. I think just waiting, just coming into the pit lane, perhaps, or no, he's gone round. Some interactive laser-like graphics on his sun visor. I think that's just a light effect as we come through and across the line then for Mr. Fish. No improvement naturally going at the speed that he is going. Waiting then for the race to begin. Viciously Vic will start at the front for the GT3 division ahead of Nat. And then we have, as I said before, Bonga in third, Mr. Fish in fourth position. I'm waiting for my drive command to light up, and we'll be able to start watching this race. First ACC broadcast race here at Deviant League, the second round overall. The drivers, as I said, are very keen on suffering, it seems, because they are planning to enter 2 cars for an 8-hour Nürburgring race next week. So that is going to be absolutely incredible. I'm just going to take a very, very brief pause on the mic here, and I'll be back just momentarily. Well, 30 seconds to go before the race begins. Hopefully it's a 1-hour race as usual here, and hopefully we will be looking forward, and we can't wait for this to begin. Apparently I've just got a trophy, and I don't really know how, why, or the wherefores of exactly what I managed to do to get that one. But anyway, let's have a look then, as we've got Bonga in that third position in the golden accented car. Alongside him, just behind him, we've got Larry out in 5th position, and it's going to be lights on to get underway very, very shortly. There we go, getting away for what I assume to be a formation lap. I hadn't been warned about that, but looks like we're not racing at this stage as the cars run through the order. Let's have a look then, as the cars have mixed up their positions. I'm not keen on the driver tags here on the formation lap. They do look very, very odd. But we do want to make sure we know exactly who is who on track while we get to know everybody's liveries and car choices. I think it's wise to keep it on for now. But those dynamic size changes and weird transparency issues are mighty strange. And the drivers have left off the track at different points, so they've overtaken each other on this formation lap. Viciously Vic in the lead then, with I would say with Nat there in 2nd position. I just don't seem to be able to select the drivers in any kind of predictable fashion. It's just gone straight to 12. What am I doing wrong? This is crazy. I thought this was a qualifying thing, but on controller it just goes 1st, 12th, 13th, 9th, 11th. Oh boy, am I going to be in trouble here if I can't navigate this any better. This is mad. Okay, this is not doing anything predictable whatsoever. I don't know if it's because the order is mixed up on track. I think it might be down to that. Let's not see him. Appears to be circulating low down. Car number 49 hasn't left the pits. That might be me. I hope not. I hope the drivers aren't expecting me to be racing here today. I'm going to do my best to try and find you one of the leaders. There we go. We've got Nat in 2nd position, and That is utterly unpredictable as to what the what the situation is with the camera work. Thanks, Alexandra. That is very, very confusing for me. I cannot figure out what I'm supposed to be doing with this controller. And as I said, my keyboard doesn't want to work. We're doing what we can, so I'm sure the drivers will help me out in the post-race debrief. And that's the other thing, is we might be able to have a quick chat with Larry post-race, Alexandra, if you want to mention it to him before I close off. That might be possible. So have we organised ourselves? No, we're going from 2nd to 5th. P4 isn't in the right place, I think. Larry's in 5th, and they're just getting together for a starting procedure. I think we're going to go side by side then, and I think it's going to be a rolling start. These are the crucial things I needed to ask before we went and got underway here. But it looks like we're going to be side by side. We're going to have Viciously Vic in the lead of the race. I think that's Jim, who has gone into the pits, and maybe taking some kind of a penalty here as we get ready for the race. Cruising along at 30-something miles an hour, up to about 42 miles an hour. And then we should get a green flag, and we are underway. We don't quite drop the clutch. We mash the accelerator to the floor as screaming down towards turn number 1 we go. And it's Viciously Vic who is claiming the inside line ahead of Nat, who manages just about to find enough racing room there with Bongit on the inside. Viciously Vic then into the lead of the race as he was from the very beginning, as Bongit then draws alongside but actually cedes position. Nat very late on the brakes into turn 2 and holding on to that 2nd position like a pro. Bongit in 3rd, Mr. Fish in 4th, with Larry in 5th place now. And settling in, I think, here to try and avoid further contact or collisions, and especially those very, very strict penalties. Camzilla looked a little bit loose coming through the corner there. I'm trying to get hold of Camzilla on the track, on the maps. Right, let's look at Bongit then in 5th position, because that's what ACC wants me to talk about. Bongit is running over the gravel on the exit of the Piff Paff chicane. Mr. Fish running through. I am, trust me, trying to use my keyboard, and that's not going to function for me. But Bongit in that 3rd place, Mr. Fish in 5th, Larry in 5th, and still in the same position that he began. You can just see the red accented car there in the background. This then is the GT3 battle at this stage. Chaotica, looks like we've had some problems for cars 26, 49 and 68, but the lead 3 have got away nicely. Not Siam in the lead of the GT3s, ahead of Ned, who is challenging hard at this stage. We seem to skip between the 2 classes, do we? As we ride just on board then with Chaotica, and Not Siam was just taking a very defensive line into that following corner. This is backmarker racing, one of the literal backmarkers, unfortunately for him, and Not Siam leading class then of the GT4s in the Aston Martin, ahead of Ned and Chaotica. And it looks like these 3 are settled into a decent battle then for the duration of our race. And that was a big problem for Ned, who spins, runs wide. Chaotica, I don't think, well, they must have made contact. There are scratch marks all over Ned's car, but Ned was in front of Chaotica. It looked like there was a problem there, but I couldn't quite tell exactly what befell between the 2 of them. I don't see any penalties marked between those drivers. There he is. But with a very dented front fender. It's come loose from the hood, and I think must have made contact with the wall. It seems to be crabbing down this mini straight as well. So into the pit lane, I imagine, for repairs early on for Ned, unfortunately for him. This is Timid Umbrian, T. Deeds, who has also spilled the car off. No visible damage, at least from the front and right-hand side that we've just seen from Timid Umbrian. He's down in 9th position and has dropped behind Siam. So Siam ahead of 1 car in the higher class, the faster class of vehicle, the GT4s. This is Timid Umbrian then at the back of that pack. Camzilla running in 6th place, so managing to bed down into a decent spell there with the tyres. Looked like he was struggling earlier doors, but seems to have regained some control. in the BMW. Looks like the BMW not well suited to the track today. That's Bongit running very, very far wide on the circuit on the way through, and that is a stop and go penalty for backmarker racing happening at this stage. This is Kamzilla overtaking Bongit, who is going slowly down the main straight. I'm not quite sure how and why that stop and go penalty has now been cleared for car 49, the backmarker racing Mercedes AMG, as Bongit is back up to racing speed. So certainly feeling something in the car there for a moment, Bongit, but it looks like all is well as Priest runs wide through turn 2, you just saw in the background, and gets out some dirt on those tyres. Kamzilla now hounding the front, hounding the mirrors of Bongit as they head into turn 4. Bongit is loose and wide going through that turn 4, but rescuing it back into the apex of turn 5. Kamzilla too greedy on the apex, getting some grass underneath the all-important airflow channels of the car. Here he is then going through the piff-paff chicane and trying to stay within striking distance of Bongit. Priest down in 7th position then in class. We'll just have a look then. Leader Boy and Nat. Nat going through. That's a blue flag. Leader Boy at the 13th position of our race. 13 of 14 total. 15 includes me. So 13 of the 14 drivers. The penultimate place then for Leader Boy. And we've got Jim running in 11th, having lifted himself up from what was 13th overall, up to now 11th overall and 3rd in class for Jim. Nat in that 2nd place. Can he stay in touch here with Viciously Vic? It definitely looks like he can, as he's following him in the wheel tracks as they head down into turn 1. I am surprised to see lapped cars happening already, but this is multi-class racing. This is what happens, especially with cars out of position after lap 1. We do have problems from there that often befall our drivers, unfortunately. This then is that internal passenger seats, if there was such a thing, view on board with Nat, and everything seems and sounds way more frantic when you're inside the cockpit in ACC than from trackside. These are not quiet cars by any stretch of the imagination, these GT race cars, but yeah, sometimes the sound is a little bit timid, and not timid Umbrian, but yeah, a little bit low trackside for us. It's as if we've all got ear defenders on, I think, and sometimes you need that in a racetrack. The rear end of the McLaren GT3 just getting away from that slightly, and that will help Viciously Vic to do exactly the same thing. And you can just see that gap opening out to 1.6 seconds now for Nat to Viciously Vic. Let's see who else we can track. It looks like there are certain drivers I can't actually spectate easily, and the game just skips over them, and I don't really understand why. I will try and get some information and some improvement on that. Larry, stuck behind Mr. Fish, goes fishing himself and ends up with just a bunch of marbles on his tyres. So he's trying to find that way through, but unfortunately getting too close and then losing the front grip, and favouring to go out onto the outfield, outer part of the racetrack rather than run into Mr. Fish. And Larry is running, where is he at the moment? Some 9.9 seconds away from the lead of the race after just 7.5 minutes of the hour. So I know that Gus is watching. Hopefully Gus is still watching. We need some livery ratings from Gus. Who is your favourite livery? I know, Gus, you tend to favour those bright colours. Is it Priest? Is it Cam? Because Larry has gone for a stealth version here today, and I don't know if that will get the thumbs up. Although always loyal to Dad, I know. So you can tell me your first and second favourite liveries if that's the case. But in 4th position then is Larry. Behind him is Bongit in 5th. Then we go oddly back to P3. The Porsche of Mr. Fish. Are they going in race number order? That was 7. No, that's not what's happening. Bongit is in 5th position, and Kamzilla has got a little bit further away from him than we saw last time we were having a look at these two fighting away. Fire engine ready for any emergencies. trackside, just caught there as we run through. I do like the camera focus effects. Excellent. So Gus is currently judging all of them, so I'll try and scroll through them, but I did see obviously Camzilla and Bongit on screen at the moment. Back to the leader then, as Viciously Vic. His lead has extended to 2.4 seconds and starting to really pound in those lap times. And 1:45.5 is pretty frightening at this point of the race with the race fuel on board. You can see various bits of information on the screen. You can see he's running 7 out of 11 traction control. He's running 3 out of 11 ABS. You can see the brake and the throttle application happening, the brake balance. So all of his secrets being given away at this stage. Chaotica in 7th has dirtied up that front fender of the Porsche, and this is second in class, 10th overall for Chaotica at the moment. Car number 24. The Porsche looking very second best here. I think he'll be waiting and with bated breath to get into the pit lane and organise himself and try and action some repairs, although cosmetically we may not see much of a difference, but hopefully he'll feel the difference in the car. He's currently 10 seconds behind Ned, but 17 seconds ahead of Jim, and that is a bit of no man's land situation for him. It looks like we are running fairly well right now. We've got Backmarker Racing, who has paid off that stop-go penalty early on. He's got Not See Him, class leader, about to lap him, I believe. So that is pretty difficult, but that's much due to the penalty and whatever preceded the penalty. So Gus likes Larry's, Mr. Fish, Cam's and Bongit's livery. Oh, we've got a fan of Bongit's livery, have we? Good stuff, good to hear. And you guys, everybody else in the chat can give me your opinion as well as your podium predictions for both classes, as Backmarker Racing is in that 13th place. This is 5th in class, as I mentioned. Not See Him closing in, and this is blue flags for Backmarker Racing, and I believe he will suffer a penalty, another penalty, if he doesn't yield position here, track position to Not See Him. We are racing European GT racing rules, not the norm for American racing, which generally doesn't have the blue flags. But the blue flags are definitely being given out here to Backmarker Racing. Not See Him. He is understandably not wishing to go for an aggressive 50-50 overtake maneuver here. In fact, giving up some speed. Perhaps that we've got a difference in tyre performance, as Backmarker Racing will be on. Well, he won't be on fresher tyres after a stop-go penalty because you can't change tyres through that period. This is Not See Him then. First in class, as I mentioned, a 1:57.6 is his lap, fastest lap, and very close to his most recent lap as well. 57.6 he goes, and he is 6 laps deep into this 1 hour of racing here at the Hungaroring in bright summer sunshine. Catching up with Ned in 14th position. He runs through into turn 1. And this is racing the Alpine car. So he had some damage earlier on. He has been able to fit a new fender and polish up and close up those shut lines that were looking very, very open earlier on. But the only Alpine in the field is Ned. Next up on screen, we've got Timid Umbrian. After his adventures, he's down in 8th position overall, 8th in class, naturally. I do quite like this white and purple. I'm not sure about the red, but I like the white and purple combination. Good BMW accented lines on the aggressive-looking GT4. I don't actually know how much customization is possible in ACC for our drivers on console. I know it's infinitely customizable on PC, but for console runners, you'll have to educate me, drivers, after you've watched this back. And then back to Camzilla then, with that bright and good colour scheme. Again, making full use of the BMW lines on the car. He's getting a little bit loose, is Camzilla, running through turn 4. And has given up quite a bit of time here to Bongit. That gap is opening out to 4 seconds. as he heads towards the Piff Paff chicane. Let's see what this feels like on board with Cam. At the moment, yeah, we are suffering with corrective steering here. Lots of throttle oversteer. See if we can't rein it in a little bit as we run in. Looks like the rear tyres are not enabling the right racing lines here as we run through. Heavy braking then down into turn 12. I don't know if any of our drivers are running without racing line. I would like them to, but I know that everybody's new to the sim, so we can be patient for a little while perhaps. Again, a slight correction, little lift from Cam here. Just using that third gear through the final corner just to control the wheel spin really. But you've got to be careful with lower octane race cars doing that. You do suffer from very low torque if you go too, you wait in too high a gear for too long. Again, that's what it looks like we're up to at the moment on board. Let's have a look back at Cam, shall we? Red helmet, white overalls, and the intricate airflow tubing witness there. Very, very interesting to see these new cameras. And I'm assuming that's like a sun visor top right of screen at the moment. But yeah, Cam looking pretty good out there, and getting a blue flag for Jim's car. So Jim having to cede position here. The way I was trying to make sense of these driver orders was that it was where they were on track. So, but that doesn't work either. It just seems completely random. Camzilla just touching Jim's rear there for a moment, so to speak. But Jim finally giving it up. Hopefully Cam won't be picking up a penalty for the gentlest of taps. Jim not really suffering any change of performance or line through the corner. And that was the blue flag then for Jim for a moment. Kimberly joins us, who's cheering on Babe. I think you've done this to me before, Kimberly. You're going to need to specify who is Babe. And this is Priest then, our Jamaican racer, who is currently running 6th in class, and I think behind Jim on track. So that's on track rather than in the race. These are those Jamaican racing colours. Car number 74. And I don't know if he's racing with the same. Nate is boyfriend to Kimberly. Right, fantastic. So it's not you that's done this to me before. Somebody has. Somebody has done very, very similarly. But it looks like all the drivers locked to these same overalls. And this is on board with Priest. It's great to have such a wide field and a split of classes here in the cars. Really enjoying the presentation here on ACC. I'm trying to make sure that we get a little bit of everybody and try and catch some battles while we're at it. This is Leader Boy, P4 in his GT4 class in the Audi, sponsored by Fanatec. One of the few drivers with a decent paying sponsor on the car today. Leader Boy running through that turn 1, heading down under the overpass into turn 2. That Audi sounds pretty good. Nice high-pitched race car in comparison to many of the others here. That's a very large flag from a fan. It almost looks like a marshal flag in the background. So you need to be careful that the crowd aren't waving flags that you need to pay attention to. Over to Jim, who's just been lapped and running in P10 overall. He's in the 68 McLaren. And this is Nat then. So this is Babe. This is Babe, who is in the pit lane. And I think undergoing some adjustments to the car. Let's have a look. Can we check out what's happening with him? Just dropped down off the jacks, so I think it's going to be a new set of tyres. We're probably going to be adding some fuel into here as well. I can't see any readout of fuel loads at this stage, but again, being dropped off the jacks. I'm assuming we're about to get back underway again. Nice to be able to see the cars in the pit lane pull in. So waiting. And he is currently in 14th place overall. I don't know if that was damage repair. Maybe Kimberly can give some insight here as to what's been going on with Nat, because he was in 2nd place overall. He's now dropped all the way down to 14th overall. This is Larry, father of Gus, husband of Alexandra, as Chaotica and Camzilla are fighting pretty hard there. Let's try and catch that battle, shall we? Where are we? Back to the leader of... Here we are. Chaotica with the mashed up Porsche in the GT4s. Right behind Camzilla. So presumably having just been lapped, Chaotica. And he's running P9. Backmarker Racing, P12. Has managed to unlap himself. Okay, Kim can't give me any info because he's working. She's working, and they're in different cities. Okay, no problem. Appreciate that. Pit window open, says Race Control. So pit stops that have happened prior to this were not eligible for the mandatory pit stop. This is 39 minutes to go. That was pit lane open. I hope that came through on the stream. Okay. You can pick up what was happening. Still P1 in class in GT4 is not Siam. There we go. Running neat and tidy here. Picking up a blue flag for Mr. Fish, who's about to come through. Appreciate you stopping by, Kimberly. Just in time to see boyfriend stranded in the pits. As Not Siam comes through. Mr. Fish and Not Siam looking like they're in... the same stable or team with a very similar colour choice of palette, but Mr. Fish being allowed through by Not Seem, who's unworried about what's happening behind. 7.6 seconds Not Seem to his closest competitor in class on track. That was Ned here in overall P13, so he's lapped Ned, and then they're running around and trying to settle on this one. Timid Umbrian in the BMW, now P7 in class, P7 overall naturally, and on the fight back, picking up a fair bit of rubber marks and dirt on the front fender, but doing okay. Just catching Jim through the piff path. This is not the best place in the world to catch another driver. This is Monaco, as we've Monaco without the barriers, as it's often referred to, the Hungaroring. It's not necessarily true. It is a wider circuit. Oh wow, they came close to contact just then, but thankfully Timid Umbrian judging that one well enough. So I'm just going to consult my notes here. Timid Umbrian, co-founder of the ACC division here in Deviant Racing, and I think co-founder with Larry, if I'm reading the subtext correctly. I've been told to give a shout out to Mrs. Timid Umbrian, or Mrs. Deeds, if you're watching. Say hello. So let me reassure me and T Deeds that you are you're watching in nicely. So Timid really starting to feel like ACC might be his thing, might be his game after all. Apparently. It is incredibly difficult, but incredibly satisfying at the same time when you get it right. There's some dirt in the windshield of Camzilla from the fight going on ahead. This is Camzilla. I think that was a brief glance of possibly Chaotica. It was Chaotica again, just allowing other drivers through. But I think just spilling one of the cars in front, spilling as Camzilla is catching Larry. That was Not Siam who released Larry and Camzilla in the same sector. Cam now chasing down Larry here for that all-important P4 in class and overall. And Camzilla misjudging it, as we saw Larry do the exact same thing earlier on. And I think that's a dirty air effect. It's possibly being slightly distracted as well as you come through the order. apparently recently upgrading his cockpit equipment, Camzilla. So no excuses anymore, it seems. If you go ahead and start spending money, you've got to back it up. So there we go. Backmarker Racing just getting in between the two rivals here for P4, as Camzilla will get past him fairly comfortably, but Larry is getting away. Apparently, Larry spinning twice last week in Zolder and picking up a penalty for speeding. So far, so good today. I'll say no more about that until we get there towards the end of the race. It's 35 3/4 minutes left to go before we get that white flag. Well, the checkered flag officially, but you know what I mean. The pit window is officially open for another 15.5 minutes. So through to 20 minutes to go for the mandatory pit stops. Again, I don't know how many pit stops are mandated and how many tyre compounds likewise, but again, we will learn. We'll get around this and figure it all out. Camzilla then just 1.1 seconds away from Larry. We'll stay here while this gap continues to shrink. Camzilla really coming into his into a really good rhythm here at the end of this first stint, it seems, for the first half of the race, and the drivers may elect to just try and split the race in half or run as long as they can and as light as they can before having to stop, and therefore stopping for slightly less fuel refill time overall. The closer we get to a finish, the more you can play with the marginal use of how fine a margin you put on the fuel refill. Camzilla just getting a bit too much apex on that final corner, but the gap shrinking to 0.8 of a second to Larry. I'm frightened to click any button right now because we will end up losing track of where we are. This then is the chase cam for Camzilla. Oh, nasty bit of brake whine going on into turn 2, but he really is hounding Larry and pressurising the Porsche driver from the land down under, particularly missing his hometown of Melbourne this weekend, is Larry. And I'm going to call him an honorary Brit because he tells me he was born in the UK. So while he's Australian by nationality, American, USA by residency, he is very much born a Brit. So I'm quite sure what that turns his favoured cuisine and characteristics into. But he's kind of crossing the entire English-speaking globe is Larry. Heading down into turn 12 then. The gap now hovering between 0.6 and 0.7. Camzilla with a lot more turn in that time than Larry managed to achieve. Driver eye view then, or at least a flat screen driver eye view, not a VR view here. There we go, trackside then now, and we see the comparison there. Very, very close lap times. If anything, Larry slightly the quicker of the two. Camzilla really chasing down Larry, but very evenly matched here, the battle for P4 in the GT3 category. Priest pits then with 32 minutes to go. So Priest, having made his, I think, mandatory pit stop, running fuel map 1. I'm always fascinated by the difference in assists that the drivers are using. Priest, as I said before, racing out of Jamaica, much improved this season. Jim is running the lowest traction control and ABS that I've seen so far. 1 out of 3 on each. I'm assuming 1 means the lowest. Let's hope so for Jim's sake. And he is currently P11. This is Nat then back onto the racetrack, back out in P8. So I'm wondering if he had a pretty momentous either penalty or repair bill to settle. Held in the pits for a very long time, was second on the grid, second in the first few laps, and then had a monumentally long pit stop and is now running down in 12th overall, 8th in class. He has several GT4 drivers just ahead of him, Nat. And back then to Larry. Let me try and get a good camera angle. I want to get the chase camera angle. It's this one, isn't it? There we go. We can now see Cam. A disappearing dot in the background, perhaps. That has definitely opened up. It's now 2.2 seconds the gap back to Cam. Tyre squealing through turn 1, really leaning on the remaining grip left in the tyre. 10 minute 38 remaining in the pit stop window. Bangers and mash, says Alexandra, is the cuisine choice of Larry. Is that race day food? What do you do about refeeding through an 8-hour race, I wonder? But yes, I've got Canadian race driver friends who swear by poutine on race day, so I wonder if is it bangers and mash for Larry, and where does the veg and fibre come in? Or maybe that's the Cheerios you mentioned. Alexandra. So halfway, we've just passed the halfway point, says Race Control, as if the giant clock in the middle of the screen doesn't help you understand that, but drivers can lose focus occasionally a little bit. He's a vegan guy, so it must be lots of veg then and fibre. So it's vegan bangers, is it, for Larry? Now, I'm just wondering, Alexandra, are you having me on just in the same way? Are you pulling my leg the same way Larry does? We shall see. Mr. Fish then, second in class, is definitely having a good old race of it right now. He was electrifying entertainment in GT World Challenge last week. I don't know if it was out and out fantastic speed, but man, did he look spectacular. It all looks a lot calmer from Mr. Fish so far today. Yeah, last week's race was, well, basically he was a one-man highlight reel throughout the course of the race. So we were having a lot of fun with Mr. Fish. But he's driving in second place here. He is 14 seconds behind that on track. He's actually P1 in the class right now, but I'm assuming we've got a pit stop underway for the former leader of the race. Let's try and catch him if we can. Here he is, Viciously Vic. I think that's a pit stop has occurred. He's back out then. I want to say some 40 odd seconds away from P1, but of course he'll pick those places back up again in the Ferrari. Still leading this race, having the fastest lap overall, a 1:45.5. There were many a driver who couldn't achieve that in qualifying, but with race fuel, Viciously Vic has managed to achieve a 45.542. Fantastic pace here, and class of the field at this early stage of the ACC League here at Deviant Racing. Chaotica, the largest driver tag we've seen yet today in the race. Chaotica, no doubt about who this driver is as he comes towards pit road, and we'll see if he can get that front fender repaired while he's in the pit lane. Let's have a look and just witness this pit stop as Mr. Fish is coming behind him, so he will drop down in the order, as will the majority of the GT3 drivers yet to pit, and we'll see Viciously Vic back up into some kind of proper place. Mr. Fish coming directly in front of Chaotica. It may be an unenjoyable watch here for a moment to see Chaotica. I think we'll probably come back to him because I don't think anything is going to change immediately. The pit stop procedure, really difficult in ACC. Everything is incredibly manual here. And you have to kind of engage things. You have to make sure that you hit your pit box correctly. Perhaps that was Mr. Fish just bouncing around because he was reset back to his box. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a very intricate procedure the drivers have to remember. Usually have to turn off the engine in the pit lane, get the refueling going on, This is Backmarker Racing in the AMG Mercedes. Not seeing pits right now as Ned goes through and overtakes him on the racetrack. Ned then is in P9 overall, P5 total, and there is Chaotica coming out with a brand new, highly polished, matte painted fender on the Porsche GT4. So thankfully, Chaotica has been able to get those repairs, and hopefully the car will look in a little bit better shape. Timid Umbrian is in P6 TDs, as you may know him, and Priest is right behind him on track here. Battle between P6 and P7 in class, which I think will work out to be the penultimate and final positions in class after the other drivers have done their. Everyone has pitted for their pit stops. 25.5 minutes left on the clock. Just 5.5 minutes on the pit lane, on the pit window. TMD on the windshield, and P6 alternating on that graphic display on the windshield. Lovely little aspect of the game. On board we are with him. Looking back, he has got a custom helmet and race suit on, so that's good. It is possible to customize your race suit and outfit. Looking over the rear wing then, on board with TD's Timid Umbrian. I think Umbrian is a Pokemon. Am I right? I mean, certainly his avatar on Discord is what appears to be a Pokemon. So if I remember the early days of playing Pokemon Go, I think that's right. Anyway, we're looking back to Priest, and the gap is about 2 seconds as they go through turn 2. Right now, just looking over that rear wing. And then we'll look under it when we crest over the hill, I imagine. There we go. Running wide through turn 4. Just getting those tyres up to temperature, I think. Is Timid. Camzilla. How is his race progressing? Well, he's P5. Blue flag for Chaotica as Camzilla will have to make the pass, I think, for the second time here. So my notes provided by Larry helpfully point out that Chaotica is Chaotica. Legend driver and dude. And very knowledgeable in the instrument setup and the intricacies of the differences between this sim platform and the usual racing platform, which is GT7 here. So the one advantage, of course, using ACC is you can go cross-play, so you can play with, you can race against PC drivers as well. That's Nat just closing in on Chaotica behind. Try and find that battle for you. Here he is in the McLaren. Chaotica having to get sequential blue flags and closing the door there to Nat. Nat having to be very patient here through a difficult portion of the racetrack to make a pass. He's managed it now, though, to head down towards turn 12, the right-hander. Usually quite a big stop there, turn 12. And he's got himself ahead. So running P8, lots of ground to make up has Nat here. He's in 10th overall. So next car in class is 3.8 seconds in front, Camzilla. Nat back into the pit lane. That is a surprise for me, but then he was in the pit lane before the pit window was open. So presumably could only repair the car, not action any the mandatory fuel and tyre stop. In he comes just behind Ned. So no obvious damage to fix here for Nat. But he heads into the pit box right now. Guided in, I think slightly overshot his pit box, perhaps. Back to Larry then, if Gus is still watching. Back to Larry, who runs through. He did have a slightly questionable gamer tag previously when I first loaded this up, and I think it's still showing on his windshield. It begins FAR. And I did ask if he was going to stick with that, and I would have to read it out. And he he accommodated my request and managed to change the car. I think it's been a fairly straightforward race so far from Lowry, running at P4, still ahead of Camzilla, behind Bongit. Bongit nearly 10 seconds further up the road. I think doing okay there with getting quite low on the fuel load. I think that little graphic, little line between gamer tag name and manufacturer, I think that's fuel load. So that explains why some drivers are very low. That's Camzilla running long and deep into turn 13 again. And pretty soon, Larry is going to have to pit if he hasn't already. Maybe not, because the pit window only has less than a lap worth of time left to run. So he must have made his pit stop already. Maybe that's the green marker to the right of the 77 on his list. Not entirely sure. We've got 65 against the name, and that number has just changed. So that presumably is fuel load because it's coming down. So 65, 63. I'm going to go ahead and speculate that that might well be percentage of fuel, but that is coming down alarmingly rapidly for him. So I don't know. Maybe that's what that's for. Backmarker Racing. Just being passed here by Mr. Fish. Very appropriately named Backmarker Racing today. And there goes Mr. Fish past. Pit window closed. Read out in the German accent in my ear. So I was tempted to copy it then for a moment, do an impression, but I won't do that in case we have any German audience with us today. Mr. Fish runs through into that penultimate corner, turn 13. Busy racetrack ahead of Mr. Fish here. I'm sure those aren't laser displays on his headlights and sunshade. I think it's just the way the graphics are being interpreted by the camera work. Screaming past Ned then goes Mr. Fish. He is in P2 in class. TMB for Timid Umbrian, I'm guessing. No, TMB. I think, I don't know what TMB references, whether that's his name. I think his first name is Tim, so the T might well be for Tim. Here we go. And 26 on his display next to his name. I will try and learn what all this means. Bongit 45 next to his name. So he's one of the drivers with the largest number next to his name at this stage. I have to assume it is indeed fuel. We could have a little look, couldn't we? Let's have a look. What does the HUD say here? Driver name, online IDs. Session info. Pit info and driver timers. That's fine. Nope, no idea. Sorry, folks. I can't really make sense of anything that we're seeing. Viciously Vic, 138 against his name. So that's odd. But we know he did stop fairly recently. 137. Feels like it's fuel running off, but I had assumed that the fuel was a percentage score, so it clearly can't be. He's dropped the fastest lap time to a 1:45.215 now, and he is currently 18.2 seconds ahead of Nat on track, but Nat's significantly further back. I think plus 1 lap now. So I wonder if there's a setup change I can make so that everything moves a little bit more predictably. Chaotica has 6 against his name. And a big Porsche rear end slide there. The mid-engine rear wheel drive car caught that very nicely. Get some Webbo style points for that little moment there from Chaotica. Like a bit of that on the channel, don't we? Let's see what happens. Well, now the number's got up to 7. Is that 7th on track? If I skip, no. Boy, oh boy. Running, there we go, into the final corner for Chaotica. We're in towards the final stretch now of our endurance race. Chaotica running second in class and driving a good race at the moment. Running there down the start-finish straight. This is his 21st lap at the moment. Yes. Backmarker Racing in the pits. I think he's come into contact with the wall. You can just see the bonnet has lifted, the hood has lifted off the fender there on the Mercedes AMG. It's got a big nose, that AMG, and it's just been made a little bit uglier with some impact for him. I'm hoping we're not going to see a dented rear fender of another car, and it is just contact with the wall. This is not Siam. They're coming through that final corner, and he has completed 21 laps, started his 22nd lap. His best time so far, 1:56.9 for the leader in the GT4 class. He's also running 8th overall, so he's got 2 GT3 cars behind him. That's always a feather in the cap for lower class drivers from the to have a higher class, faster class of car ahead of behind you. Timid O'Brien in the aggressive BMW. Do I like this? Because it reminds me of the Lego Speed Champions BMW GT3 I just built? Maybe. Am I sorry about that? Not at all. Camzilla, he's now chasing down Larry, and this is a good battle to be watching, as that green and yellow monster behind Larry is starting to make him feel pretty hot under the collar. That was a drive-through for track limits. 3L remaining on the screen there for a moment. It's Larry through the chicane, taking a slightly straighter line through the chicane than Camzilla, but probably suffering a little bit of additional tyre wear as a result of running over those complex bumps and raised curbings as they come up right behind here. Ned, as this could be Camzilla's best opportunity, gets a second little bout of slipstream and doesn't go for the inside line behind Ned. Again, just trying to avoid contact at all costs. Perhaps in GT7 you might have seen him go for that move and deal with the consequences later. The penalty's very light in comparison on GT7, but here it is a strictly no contact sport. So Camzilla having to bide his time, allow Larry to get away. 1.2 seconds that gap. That lap was a lot slower for Camzilla than the previous one. So his best is 47.0. Remember that our leader is running a 45.2 fastest lap. So for P4 and 5, Camzilla and Larry have got quite a bit of time to find in their ACC journey here. Certainly around a technical circuit like this one. Drive-through cleared for car 74. That's Priest, who has just had a drive-through. Is the number next to the driver's name something to do with their driver rating? Anybody with experience in ACC, please let me know, because those numbers keep changing. Is it kind of the racer points that they're picking up, the experience points they're picking up as a result of where they're running? Would figure that, or that is their ranking at the moment, relative ranking. Larry on a 44, our leader, Viciously Vic, 137. Kind of makes sense to me why it might be changing over time. Coming upon the leader of the GT4 class, Siam, or is it not Siam? I believe it is Siam, and he's just having us on there with the gamer tag running through. And again, outwash of the front wing performance, front splitter performance there on the Aston Martin, as we've seen time after time here. Following another car into turn 13, you go very long on the brakes and have to take avoiding action. Let's join Camzilla on board then. We get a good view of the of the racetrack behind us, which is clear. So are we going to be able to make an overtake here on Larry and disappoint Larry's family, who are all watching? Kamzilla will have to talk through that one and make his apologies. Larry getting good performance through turn 3. As we head up the hill to the blind entry turn 4. Both cars pretty equitable through there, and heading down into number 5. Very long, slow, sort of 170 degree right-hander. Kamzilla struggling on the exit of that one. And these GT cars really making light work of the bumps into the Piff-Paff chicane. Gap opening out again. I think this is the closest gap we have on the field at the moment. Coming through turn 9 into 10 now. The next right-hander leads on to that mini straight. Again, running wide for Cam. And losing time to Larry through the course of this lap. It's a little bit rough by his high standards. We get a nice sort of mobile view here, kind of looking into the apexes, similar to like a VR view here. Probably what the drivers are experiencing, because the camera work probably strays to the apexes left and right. You can use the portions of the rear view mirror, although not that you really need it with that rear view camera, but the left hand wing mirror as well. Cam's fastest at 1:47.0. Back to Priest then, as that gap was just opening out. Priest running 7th in class. Jim 3rd in class. He really has lifted himself from the penultimate place in the race, P13, to now 11th. Don't seem to have, there we go. Apparently used to race his Porsche at Sebring. Very motorsport knowledgeable is Jim, as he gets that blue flag, so I'm sure he'll know what to do with that blue flag and allow Bongit through, which he does. Bongit running P3 overall, and just getting through nicely. So Bongit P3 ahead of Larry and Cam, and back then to Nat, who is running 8th in class, 9th overall. I think he has just Siam in front of him in the GT4s. Mr. Fish, bit of a Joker colour scheme perhaps. Batman's the Joker in the green and purple. Going deep on the brakes here. Through turn 3, the car's really at the limit now with 8 minutes to go. Cars and drivers feeling the fatigue, I imagine, at this stage. Focus required, and the lack of brakes that this track offers, especially with multi-class racing, where either as a GT4 driver you're always looking in your mirrors, or as a GT3 you're wondering when is going to be a good opportunity to get through past, as Chaotica completely screws up his own grip there, way out onto the marbles to allow Bongit through without penalty. There's Chaotica then in 10th position. Just having a look at Larry, who has opened the gap to Kamzilla to 3 seconds now. So looking a lot safer than he was earlier on. And our leader, our race leader, is Viciously Vic still, winner of Zolder on round 1 of the championship. Looks like he's going to have things fairly easy at this early stage of the championship. So I wonder if there was a queue forming to sign him for the 8 hours of Nürburgring race team. I imagine there probably was, and try and learn some of his secrets here all the same. Racing out of Sicily, Victor. races usually in the GT Sport, which I haven't had the pleasure yet of commentating, but they race at the same time as the GT World Challenge on the same day, so we can't really do live streams. I can't do 2 at a time, can we? But Viciously Vic, certainly the boss of this ACC performance at this stage, just round 2 of the championship. I believe it's going to be a 7-race championship, just like in the GT World Challenge, and I imagine it's also going to be a 6 scores count situation as well. Strange textures across the racetrack for a moment there for Chaotica, but he's dealing with it very well. 9th overall, still 2nd in that GT4 class. As Backmarker Racing asking questions of the front axle. I'm not quite sure that he's getting the answers he desires, but he's trying to get that rear end round on the AMG. It's a very heavy car. Forgive me if I've mentioned this before elsewhere, but the AMG Mercedes is technically a mid-engined rear-wheel drive car because the engine weight, the bulk of the engine weight sits behind the front axle, and that's how you classify it. You see that huge hood section of the AMG in comparison to the other cars, where the engine actually sits just in front, just behind those front wheels and in front of the driver. So if you were being really technical about it, you would classify it as a mid-engined rear-wheel drive car. But it's only him who's chosen the AMG, just like for Siam, the only driver who's chosen the Aston Martin here. It's just wrong, not using traditional Aston Martin colours, but perhaps we're going for those Joker colour schemes. Just got Priest in the background as well for Jamaica. Larry saying that Siam is the brains behind the service here. That was a track limit drive-through given to car 178. We just saw Siam go off track, and he's just picked up a drive-through penalty. Is that going to affect the order once they get through this? And he continues to fight with a driver he's been given a blue flag to help avoid. Was about to sing Siam's praises and blotting his copybook there in 2 different aspects, almost hitting the pit wall, which frightens me every time I drive either right or left of it deliberately at this Hungaroring, getting down to 50 kilometers an hour, 31 miles an hour as he engages the pit lane speed limit. He's running just 1 out of 11 traction control, 3 out of 10 ABS. Props to him for that. And I'll try and join him on board and see if he's actually running that racing line as well. I can't remember. He's racing out of Texas, is Siam. The great state of Texas, as they say. That was the drive-through penalty. So yes, he has got the racing line on. I think all our drivers are using it. But that would be my personal challenge, especially to anybody leading these races. Get yourself off this racing line, please, because it annoys me. Let's call a spade a spade. It definitely annoys me. Let's see, is our race leader running that racing line? This is Larry. I think if you win a race, you should have to take off the racing line. Is that fair? As Viciously Vic comes through. The problem I have the racing line is, firstly, it takes me out of the enjoyment and the fantasy that this is realistic racing, and secondly, I find that drivers stare at the road and those pretty colours instead of the racing track and what's around them. That could be unfair for the pros among these drivers, but I feel like track awareness goes down if you have the racing line on. Having said that, I did try to drive ACC, and I very quickly put the racing line on myself to start with, because I was just trying to take in too much information and feedback to make a good race of it. Possibly running some Ukrainian sympathetic colours here is Viciously Vic, racing out of Sicily, the Italian island. That's kind of a 77. That is a drive-through for fan favourite Larry, who's just picked up with 1 minute 37 left to go. A drive-through penalty has been awarded to him. That is going to be crushing for Larry, and will, if Camzilla hasn't already got by, and I don't think he has, then I think Larry could be at risk of Camzilla. No, Camzilla absolutely has got by, and has 12 seconds in ahead of Larry. So Larry's about to hit that that drive-through penalty as we go down into the final minute of the hour. That is so. The number next to the name is their ping. Thank you, and that's presumably their ping to me. Thank you, Alex. That's Alexandra. That is terrific information. So presumably that's why Viciously Vic out of Sicily has a much stronger ping relative to me than anybody else. That makes utter sense. Thank you so much. That is good, and then I can just completely ignore it. There were a couple of drivers racing with like 6 ping though, weren't there? So in he comes then, Larry, and is he laughing about that that ping number or his drive-through penalty? I'm sure it's not the drive-through penalty, because that hurts. This is Viciously Vic then, with 23 seconds on the clock. I think he may elect to slow the car and do one fewer racing laps. He's closing in. That was 77. A stop and go for speeding in the pit lane. He's doubled the penalty. 7, 6, 5, 4. And we cross the line. So Viciously Vic, this will be his lap of honour. But Larry has picked up a second penalty. A stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Too busy laughing at my commentary. And he has just unfortunately cost himself potentially a P5. Certainly a P4 for that one. So, yeah, I am very, feeling very bad for Larry as a result of that double penalty. The old pit lane speed infraction. That is absolutely shocking for him, unfortunately. Viciously Vic goes over turn number 4 into 5, followed by Priest on track. Some of the drivers will be crossing the line, but 33 racing laps it will be for Viciously Vic, and we'll do him the honour of staying with him here as the marble and dirt pickup has peppered the green part of his racing car on the back of the Ferrari. Coming through, Alexandra, can we have a laughing update on Larry here? I'm assuming he is no longer amused at what's happening, but Viciously Vic closing into turn 12, and then there'll be just 2 corners after this one to go. Running through, we go into that turn 13. No corner numbers that I'm aware of here, and if they were, I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce them. Final corner for Viciously Vic. This has been utter domination for the Scuderia Ferrari as he comes to cross the line, pick up the checkered flag, and win the fantastic race here at the Hungaroring. Viciously Vic is your victor overall. Let's see if we can find P2 anywhere. I'm sorry, I beg your patience here as we come through, as Mr. Fish has not yet picked up the checkered flag. So essentially ACC runs a traditional racing model where the winner takes the checkered flag first and then everybody crosses the line after him. Mr. Fish will be P2. Did I see a third penalty for Larry, or was it just that was clear? There is Mr. Fish taking the P2 today, and congratulations to him for a very controlled performance as Bongit is within distance, is within sight of that P2 and picks up the podium overall. Bongit in at that P3. Let's try and find you the class leaders. I think finishing in P8 will be Siam. He has now just crossed the line in class. Siam is your winner of the GT4 category. Chaotica looks to be coming through to pick up the second position then in class as Larry goes in for his stop-go penalty. I imagine he's not going to be in a mood to chat here on the stream after that befell. I'm probably heading in for some food anyway, but we can maybe organise that for next time. This is Chaotica then, about to pick up P2 in class. And remember the state of the front of that car in the first half of the race. Props to Chaotica. What a great performance to rescue this back for a second position in class. Chaotica picks that up for the GT4 division. Let's have a look. I think is that Jim who will be picking up P3 in class? It is going to be, it is Jim who's picked up third place in class. So there is your finishing order. Viciously Vic with the fastest lap as well, finishing with 34 laps ahead, 37 seconds ahead of Mr. Fishoda, over a second a lap gained by Viciously Vic, with Bongit in third. Camzilla's fourth ahead of Larry, who did bring it home on the lead lap eventually in P5. Timid Umbrian in P6. And Priest in seventh. Not Siam finishing ahead of one GT3 driver, excuse me. I was counting myself there for a moment. But he's finishing ahead and in a class win ahead of Chaotica and Jim Arnott. They're in P10 overall. Then we've got Ned in P11, Nat in P12 for the GT3 car, following that incredibly long pit stop earlier on in the race, just as girlfriend Kimberly was watching. And we have background marker racing finishing 13th and leader boy ironically finishing at the back. Well, I hope you have enjoyed that today. This is ACC. This is Deviant Racing's ACC League. Your double winner from the first two rounds is Viciously Vic. Who can topple him? Find out in 2 weeks' time. Thank you so much for watching and for doing all the good stuff on the channel. You guys are fantastic members of the audience. I really appreciate everything that everybody does to help the channel. And I will catch you all on the next race day.